on this crisis that I think it's happening around science, that, for example, many of the research that's happening is not being replicated. Do you think we're living in a crisis in terms of our scientific tools?
I think it's very interesting that you bring up the so-called replication crisis. For your listeners, what Alex is alluding to is the fact that many findings, especially in the social sciences, but not only in the social sciences, fail to replicate. So a scientist does an experiment, publishes the results, maybe even uses the correct methods, then another scientist comes and tries to reproduce the results and doesn't find the same results about some behavior, let's say, or something. But it's not only in the social and behavioral sciences, we also find it in medicine, for example. Many drugs, the scientists do a randomized controlled trial of a drug. They say this drug works to lower cholesterol or treat cancer or whatever. And then some other scientist comes along and does the same experiment, and oops, the drug doesn't work as it did in the first trial. That's a problem. Even in physics, there are problems in replication. So there was a famous experiment called the BICEP2 experiment about background microwave radiation, which there was a little glitch, and the scientists came back and redid the measurement, and oops, it wasn't true. Yeah. So many branches of the sciences are having a kind of identity crisis right now about how to make sure increase confidence in results that we believe. But I would say that's in fact exactly how science is supposed to work, and so it is working that way. In other words, the replication crisis is not a bug; it's a feature. It is what science is supposed. It's self-correcting. Scientists are improving their methods to reduce the likelihood of false positive results, and are talking among themselves about how to shore up scientific procedures to avoid the failure to reproduce results. So I don't see it. I'm not pessimistic about it. In other words, like I agree. You're right to point out that there is, and incidentally, just to be clear, these problems we're talking about are not fraud or falsehoods. In other words, we're talking about scientists who are working in earnest, faithfully, accurately reporting what they observe and see and are doing, not scientists who fabricate data, which is another problem, which also happens and always did happen. That's a tiny fraction of the problem. We have a more general problem, which is that many of the results that are reported in the scientific literature can't be reproduced. But the mere fact that people are trying to reproduce them is a strength, not a weakness. I mean, that's how we come to be more certain about things.
Yeah, I like that perspective. I really do. But to that point, we're trying to double down. What if public policy gets done in terms of something that isn't a research that it's not very very strong, very.
Yeah. So that problem is, what if we base public policy on weak science or false science, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that happens where we think something is true and we recommend that a drug be used. For example, a randomized controlled trial is done. We think this is an effective drug. We recommend its widespread use. And then as time goes by, we realize, actually, no, the drug is not helpful. And in fact, we're exposing people to risk for no benefit.
Right.
We're harming people by this drug. And so we've implemented a policy based on an inaccurate understanding of the world. So you're right. I mean, that can happen, and that's awful.